Have you ever wondered why we shake hands when we meet someone? Think about it. You meet a stranger. You look at them. You extend your right hand. They extend theirs. Your hands meet. You shake. And then you move on. It feels completely normal. But why do we do it? Why the hand? Why the right hand? And why do we shake it? The answer takes us thousands of years into the past. And the real story is much more fascinating than you might expect. Today, a handshake can mean many different things. It can mean hello. It can mean respect. It can mean friendship. It can mean congratulations. It can even mean that two people have reached an agreement. But long before business meetings, job interviews, and sporting events, humans had a much bigger problem. Trust. Imagine living thousands of years ago. You are walking through a busy ancient city. You see a stranger approaching you. You do not know who this person is. You do not know what they want. And you certainly do not know if they are carrying a weapon. There are no security cameras. There are no metal detectors. There are no police officers watching every corner. A weapon could easily be hidden under clothing. So when two strangers approached each other, the first question was not necessarily, "Who are you?" It may have been, "Can I trust you?" This is where one of the most popular explanations for the handshake begins. The open hand could show peaceful intentions. If you extended your hand and showed that it was empty, you were communicating something without saying a word. Look. I am not holding a weapon. I am approaching you peacefully. And if the other person trusted that signal, they could extend their own hand. The two people would then make physical contact. For a brief moment, both of them were showing that their hands were empty. It is a simple idea. But there is something important to remember. Historians are not certain that the handshake was actually invented specifically to check for weapons. That explanation is popular, but there is no single historical document proving that this was the original reason. The true origin of the handshake is much older and more complicated. What we do know is that people were using hand-clasping gestures thousands of years ago. One of the oldest known artistic examples comes from the ancient Assyrian world. A relief from the 9th century BC shows the Assyrian king Shalmaneser III shaking hands with the Babylonian king Marduk-Sakir-Shumi I. And this was not just a casual hello. The gesture was connected with an alliance. Two rulers. Two kingdoms. Two powerful sides. And their joined hands represented an agreement. That tells us something very important. The handshake was not simply about greeting someone. It could represent trust. It could represent peace. It could represent cooperation. It could represent an agreement between two people or two groups. And that meaning has survived for thousands of years. Think about what happens today when two business executives shake hands after a negotiation. The handshake itself is not the contract. But it represents the agreement. It is almost like saying, "We have reached an understanding. We can trust each other. We are moving forward together." Ancient Greece gives us another fascinating example. The Greeks used a gesture known as dexiosis. It involved the right hand being extended and clasped. Ancient Greek art shows people using this gesture in different situations. Sometimes it represented friendship. Sometimes agreement. Sometimes farewell. And sometimes a connection between people. In fact, some ancient Greek funerary artwork shows people clasping hands. The meaning could be deeply emotional. The joined hands could represent a lasting relationship between people. So the handshake was not always just a greeting. It could represent a bond. A connection. A promise. Or even a final goodbye. Now think about the movement itself. Why do we shake the hand? Why not simply hold it? There is another popular theory. Some people believe that shaking the hand may have helped reveal whether someone was hiding a weapon in their sleeve. If someone approached with their right hand extended, the hand could be seen clearly. And when the hands were clasped and moved, it might have made it more difficult to secretly keep something concealed. It sounds logical. But again, there is no solid evidence proving that this was the original purpose. It is better to think of the weapon theory as a possible explanation rather than a proven historical fact. The deeper story is about trust. And that makes the handshake even more interesting. Because think about what you are actually doing when you shake someone's hand. You allow another person to come close to you. You expose your hand. You make physical contact. You allow that person to briefly control the movement of your hand. And you do all of this with someone you may have just met. That is actually a surprisingly vulnerable action. Today, we barely notice it. We have grown up with the tradition. But imagine living in a world where meeting a stranger could genuinely be dangerous. A greeting had to communicate something. It had to say, "I am peaceful. I am not attacking you. I am willing to approach you. And perhaps most importantly, I am willing to trust you." The ancient Romans also used clasped hands as a symbol of friendship, loyalty, agreement, and connection. Joined hands appeared in Roman art. They even appeared on coins. The symbolism was powerful. Two separate hands became one gesture. Two people became connected. Two sides became partners. And this symbolism eventually became connected with contracts, alliances, friendship, marriage, and political relationships. Now fast forward through history. Different cultures developed different ways of greeting. Some people bowed. Some people kissed. Some people embraced. Some people removed their hats. Some people simply nodded. And the handshake existed alongside all of these traditions. But eventually, the handshake became especially important in Western society. One group that helped popularize the handshake was the Quakers. The Quakers valued simplicity and equality. Instead of using elaborate bows that could emphasize social rank, a simple handshake could put two people on more equal footing. You did not have to kneel. You did not have to bow deeply. You simply extended your hand. I meet you as another human being. That simple idea helped give the handshake a new meaning. Equality. Respect. Simplicity. Over time, the handshake became increasingly common. And eventually, people began developing rules about how to do it properly. Yes. There were actually rules. A handshake should not be too weak. It should not be painfully strong. It should not last forever. And it should not feel like you are trying to win a wrestling match. The ideal handshake became something in between. Firm. Brief. Confident. Respectful. And that is how a simple gesture became a form of body language. Before you even said your name, your handshake could communicate something about you. A weak handshake might be interpreted as uncertainty. An extremely strong handshake might appear aggressive. A long handshake could feel uncomfortable. A short and confident handshake could communicate professionalism. Whether these interpretations are always accurate is another question. But people often make these judgments very quickly. And that is why the handshake became especially important in business culture. Imagine walking into an American office for a job interview. You walk into the room. You meet the interviewer. You make eye contact. You smile. And then you extend your hand. That tiny moment becomes part of your first impression. Before you explain your education. Before you talk about your experience. Before you describe your skills. Your body language has already started communicating. Nice to meet you. I am confident. I respect you. I am comfortable being here. And that is incredibly powerful. The handshake became so deeply connected with professional life that it eventually became almost automatic. You meet someone important. You shake hands. You close a deal. You shake hands. You congratulate someone. You shake hands. You finish a competition. You shake hands. You meet a new colleague. You shake hands. But here is where the story gets even more interesting. Not every culture uses the handshake in the same way. Human beings have developed many different forms of greeting. In some cultures, bowing is more important. In others, people embrace. In some situations, a simple nod is enough. And today, many people may choose not to make physical contact at all. That became especially obvious during the COVID-19 pandemic. For a period of time, one of humanity's oldest greetings suddenly became something people avoided. People stopped shaking hands. Instead, they waved. They nodded. They bumped elbows. They used fist bumps. Something that had survived for thousands of years suddenly had to change. And that taught us something important. Human traditions can change when circumstances change. But after the pandemic, handshakes began returning to many workplaces and social situations. Why? Because the handshake carries meaning. It is more than physical contact. It is a symbol. A handshake creates a tiny moment of connection between two people. You reach out. The other person responds. Your hands meet. You move together. And then you separate. The entire ritual may take only 1 or 2 seconds. But during those 2 seconds, both people participate in the same action. You offer a gesture. The other person accepts it. That mutual response is part of what makes the handshake so powerful. It is a miniature agreement. You are saying, I recognize you. I respect you. I am willing to meet you. And for a brief moment, we are cooperating. That may help explain why the gesture has survived for so long. Think about how many traditions have disappeared throughout human history. Empires have collapsed. Languages have changed. Technology has transformed civilization. Clothing styles have completely changed. Entire societies have vanished. But people still reach out and shake hands. Thousands of years later, the gesture remains recognizable. That is extraordinary. And perhaps the most fascinating part is that we rarely think about it. We perform the gesture automatically. We do it without asking why. But everyday actions often have hidden histories. The way we say hello. The way we celebrate. The way we dress. The way we eat. Even the way we shake someone's hand. All of these ordinary behaviors can contain pieces of ancient human history. So imagine going back thousands of years. You are standing in an ancient city. You see a stranger approaching. You do not know who they are. You do not know what they want. You do not know whether they are friend or enemy. Then they extend an open hand. You look at it. You extend yours. Your hands meet. For that brief moment, both of you are communicating something incredibly important. I come in peace. I am willing to trust you. And I expect you to trust me too. Maybe that is why the handshake became much more than a greeting. It became a symbol of civilization. A way for strangers to approach one another. A way for rivals to negotiate. A way for leaders to show cooperation. A way for business partners to confirm an agreement. And a way for ordinary people to say hello. The next time someone reaches out their hand to shake yours, stop for just a second and think about what you are actually doing. You are participating in a tradition with roots stretching back thousands of years. You are repeating a gesture that ancient rulers used to symbolize alliances. You are repeating a gesture seen in ancient Greek art. You are using a movement that has represented trust, peace, friendship, agreement, respect, and connection. And all of that history is hidden inside one simple action. One hand reaches out. Another hand responds. The hands meet. And for one brief moment, two people agree to connect. That is the hidden story behind the handshake. A gesture that takes only a second. But a tradition that has survived for thousands of years. So the next time you shake someone's hand, remember. You are not just saying hello. You are taking part in one of humanity's oldest social rituals. And that is what makes an ordinary handshake extraordinary. If you enjoyed this story, follow Y for more fascinating facts, hidden history, and surprising stories behind the everyday things we see around us. Because sometimes, the most incredible stories are hiding in the simplest things. Why?